everybody. Coach Brandon here today with Coach Graydon, and he's going to be helping me show you guys how to prevent our opponent's open turtle escapes. We're winding down to our attacking the turtle chapter. We started off attacking the closed turtle when our opponent's elbows are in tight, and we saw that we can attack the closed turtle by off-balancing them because they have a very narrow base of support. We also saw that there's a certain set of escapes that are associated with the closed turtle. Typically escapes where our opponent get really tight, make themselves into a ball of sorts, and then try to turn and face us, or reverse us and things like that, or maybe they dive underneath and go into legs. This is stuff hopefully you guys remember from a couple weeks ago. Then we start talking about open turtle. In an open turtle, our opponent knows if they stay closed and tight, they're very susceptible to being broken down and off balanced. So they adopt a wider turtle with the elbows and knees wider. When our opponent has an open turtle, it's very hard to break them down. It's very challenging, but it becomes very easy to just start putting limbs inside, either going in with the arms, seat belts, claw grips, wrist rides, things like that, or coming in with the legs, with things like inserting them in your foot, inserting them in your knee, and breaking them down that way. Now, we're to our final piece of the turtle chapter. How do we stop the open turtle escapes? How do we stop escapes that are associated with my partner being a little wider in the knees and elbows? Understand when they're wider with the knees and elbows, they still might try closed turtle escapes. They still might try to roll into guard. But it's usually easier to stop because we can easily get inside the elbows to the pocket of the shoulder, and we can easily stay inside the knees to the pocket of the hip. So when they roll and their limbs are all away from their body like this, it's easy to get inside the knees and the elbows. Okay? So we're going to look at more wrestling style escapes, where now our partners are going to be more interested in the idea of standing up, either here, keeping 2 knees down, head up, 2 knees down. We can have head down, 1 knee up, either side. We can go with a head up and a 1 knee up, either side. And we can go with a 4-point. Our opponent can do this where they keep their head low and they bring their hips up, and then they stand up from here. If our opponent does manage to get to full upright posture, if our opponent does go and they get to here, now then we're going to be into the rear clinch territory. And we're actually going to be looking at how to fight from the rear clinch in our takedown chapter in just a little bit. So that is coming if the person does get all the way up to their 2 feet. But for now, let's keep it in the realm of turtle, where they're still going to be at least partially down on the floor. Okay? Let's get started by looking at some of our stand-up escapes. Graydon, can you take an open turtle for me? So again, here in an open turtle, it becomes very easy for me to start inserting wedges. I can go with seat belts, I can go with hooks, I can go with my knees, etc. But understand that he's not just going to sit here and wait for me to attack. He's going to be going into his own escape strategies. Let's first look at our opponent who tries to stand up, keeping both their knees down initially and just posturing up. Okay, so I'm here, maybe I'm down at the hips, and he just starts riding up. Yes. So when I see this kind of thing happening, I like to attack the neck because they're usually exposing the neck. I'm here, he goes to stand up. I start going, I go after a wrist grip, and I go after the neck. Now from here I can start going right into my chokes, I could start going into the collar, I could start going into submissions. We're going to look at that in the near future. Or I could start throwing limbs in because now his limbs aren't defended. So from here I can start throwing in a hook, like so. Now from here, what do we have? We have diagonal control. I can put an elbow on top of the head, and we can break them down with a power half Nelson. I'll go through the whole thing actually. Be here, diagonal control, control the head, knee shrimp, top hook goes in. If he's got the knee tight to the chest, I might need to use a heel insertion or a heel wedge or a top hip scissor. Don't forget about our last tricks we studied. Okay. So again, an open turtle. I'm here, I'm trying to break him down, and he all of a sudden out of nowhere starts to stand up. I go after the neck, I go after the wrist. My hook goes in on the opposite side of my control arm. On the side that I have the wrist, this is my control of the shoulder. So I look for diagonal control. If I put this hook in, I might slide off because I have nothing anchoring me to the right side of Graydon's body. So when he's here and he starts going up, I go here, I get my control of the shoulder, here, and then I get diagonal control, which means I need to control that hip, here. Now I'm going to drive forward, putting his head down toward the floor, and now we can start turning him over with our power half Nelson. Next, let's look at a situation where he's going to start to stand up, keeping the head low but bringing up with a knee. So we're here, and let's see if it matters which side. Which side do I want to do first? It really doesn't matter. Let's have you come up with this side first, Graydon. Okay, so I'm here. He's going to start to step up. Boom. Just like that. Okay? So one thing I can do as I start seeing him step up on the far side is I can start to off balance him over the knee. When Graydon starts to stand up, like so, alright, we have one leg down, one leg up. If I were to try to push and off balance Graydon toward the side of his posted leg, he's well based. I can't get it to fall over. But the side of the downed knee, it's very easy to start breaking him down to that side. So when I see this kind of thing happening, and I see that he's starting to come up with the outside leg here, so this is an outside leg stand up, I keep my tight waist here, and I'm going to start to do a hip breakdown on this side where I drive, I'm going to pull on the hip with my tight waist, and I break him down to a hip. And now we have a hip breakdown. Same position, can you scoot more in front of the camera? And now we have a hip breakdown. You guys know what to do from here. We studied this in closed turtle. I have a number of things I can do. I can either come in with the knee first, putting my knee underneath here, between his knee and elbow, connecting my seatbelt, hook goes in, and then we roll him onto the bottom hook. We go to the other side so he's on the bottom hook. Remember, we never want to stop here where I don't have a bottom hook in, because he can easily slide over my knee and start to escape. So again, we're here. I'm trying to break into the open turtle, and I see he starts the process of standing up. As soon as I see this, I latch onto him with my tight waist over here, either with a no-gi grip, going elbow deep or wrist deep, or with a lapel tight waist, grabbing the cross-side lapel. Now from here, I'm driving myself over. I pull him down to his hip, and again, we can go in knee first, hitting our seatbelt, putting the hook in. Otherwise, move in front of the camera again. Another option that I really like is to go foot first. Just like when we attacked open turtle. I base on my right hand and my left foot, and my right leg comes in, I shoot my right leg all the way across his hip line, and I pull him back. This has the benefit of my bottom hook already being in, and I already have a high bottom hook rather than a low bottom hook where it's easy for him to pummel his knee over my ankle, and now he can start to escape. So I'll show that one more time. I really like that. Anytime I break my opponent down to a hip, that's actually another one of my preferred methods, is to just insert the foot first. I'm in here trying to attack my open turtle. He goes to get up. The hook goes in. And we have that. We do the same thing if the head starts to come up too. Let's say he steps up with a leg and he starts to posture. Just like this. Same thing here, is I can use my tight waist to sag my body weight down over the side of the downed knee. Again, if I try to pull him in the other direction, he's strong and stable in this direction. Hard to get him to go over. But when I pull in this direction, he goes down fairly easily. Now with his hip down on the floor, it's my choice. I can come in with my knee. I can come in with my foot. And we've also seen situations in the past where I can come in and I can move him from a hip breakdown to a seated breakdown. And I get it between my two knees. And now I can insert hooks from here. These are all good methods that you should have learned relatively recently in the other turtle topics. You can also look to insert hooks right away. If I'm in here and he steps up with that outside leg and postures like he did before, and I have the room for it, look, this is completely open. Okay, I can just stand up and throw my hook in. I now have, once again, diagonal control. I have control of the far shoulder through my tight waist or my high tight waist, and I have control of the near hip through my hook. Elbow on the head, we connect our hands, and we power half by driving the chin into the chest, getting this breakdown here. We collect the head, my left knee collects his hips with a knee shrimp, and now I'm ready to insert my top hook. So both of those are good options, either throwing the hook in right away or breaking them down. They're both great. Understand that against strong wrestlers, it's oftentimes a good idea to try to fight for a breakdown. What can happen with strong wrestlers is that they are determined to maintain good posture, good base. He starts to stand up, I throw my hook in, he keeps a good base, and just let me fall here. And I try to go onto the back and I end up sliding off. Because he's good at maintaining a solid structure. Jiu-jitsu people, on the other hand, they don't like to stand up as much typically, and a lot of times they'll be a little more willing to go to guard. So a lot of times this works really well against jiu-jitsu people, because as soon as I start getting hooks in, they start like rolling to their back and such. So when he stands up and I start going here and he starts to move and escape, it easily gives me the back. So if this is more of a jiu-jitsu-y kind of person, who likes to ball up and roll and turn and spin, putting the hooks in and starting to latch on the back can be a very good way to go. If this is a wrestler who's more interested in keeping a solid, sturdy base and not going to their back, then oftentimes we're going to be better served by putting them down into unathletic positions from where it's hard for them to move and explode, and it's hard for them to build up a base. So far, we've been looking at outside leg stand-ups. What is that? It's the idea that right here, understand there's an inside leg, a leg that's more inside in the middle of all the action, and an outside leg, the one that's out to the outside. So he can do an outside leg stand-up, and the implications of an outside leg stand-up are that the inside knee is down. So from here, I stay right where I'm at, and I pull his body weight over that knee. Next, let's look at the idea of inside leg stand-ups. Let's come this way a little bit, Graydon, because I'm going to be going in the other direction there. What if I'm here, and Graydon knows that if he steps up at the outside leg, it's very easy for me to break him down. Go ahead. I can break him down right away. So what a more intelligent wrestler might do is they might do an inside leg stand-up. He's going to get, sorry, go back, I kind of crowded you. I'm here, he steps up, and now if I try to pull him down the same way I did before, he's got a solid structure. Very solid. So what do we do in this case? He steps up with that inside leg. I recognize he's stepping up with the inside leg. It's this knee over here that's vulnerable. This is where he doesn't have a good base. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to step my body to the other side. And as I go, I'm going to catch the hip. And I'm going to do a breakdown in the other direction. And now we're in the same place. I can come in with my knee in seatbelt. I can come in with my hook. Or I can lock a seatbelt and force him into a seated breakdown and put hooks in from here. Otherwise, there is one more option from week 1. Do you remember it? The shoulder breakdown. and come in here. And I can start to fold him down to a shoulder, getting a claw grip here, putting my hook in, and I can take the back this way. So once we get him to that hip breakdown position, we have a number of options. We can attack the back from the hip breakdown, going in with the knee or going in with the foot. We can move him to a seated breakdown, or we can control the wrist or the wrist ride and force him down into a shoulder breakdown. They're all great options. And it's all tying back into our first week of study of the turtle, back into kind of attacking a closed turtle. Once that closed turtle's opened up, we have room to start inserting our limbs and inserting wedges. So one more time in the outside leg stand up. Or I'm sorry, the inside. One more time in the inside leg stand up. The inside leg here. As soon as I see him start to stand up, I have to recognize what's happening, and I have to start to move my body to the other side. Now from here I continue to drive, breaking him down to a hip. My foot can go through, and I have back control. So far, I've been showing this with a tight waist, with open wedges. Here, where I use a tight waist, grabbing the lapel maybe, if he's got a gi, and oftentimes a hand on the floor so I can move my body and start to move. Another option we can use is a body lock, a rear body lock. Okay? So when we'll go with the same side again, maybe an inside leg stand up. I'm here, he starts to stand up. I can grab, just like Dougie did, grab around his hips. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take off running in this direction over here to my left. Not just in a straight line, but in a circle. I'm going to start to run in a circle. So as I'm here, I get up to my feet, and I start to run around the body. And I break him down to a hip. Now from that he's broken down to a hip, I can come up to my seatbelt, knee goes inside, hook goes in, and we take the back. I could also try to do this if he does an outside leg stand. We're getting kind of out of frame with the center. If he does an outside leg stand up, the same thing works. If I'm here, he goes to outside, I can lock a body lock, and then I'm going to start taking off running in this direction, in the direction of the down knee. And I break him down to his hip. Now that he's broken down to his hip, I can start to insert my limbs and take the back. So I know this sounds like a lot of different details, and it sounds like a lot of different things to keep straight, guys, but it's not complicated, okay? If he's in an open turtle, if he keeps both knees down and he comes up with just his head, attack the head, attack the upper body, go after the neck. If he steps up with either leg, we always off balance him to the side of the down knee. If he goes in the other direction, we off balance him to that direction. Whatever side the knee's down, he has very limited mobility on that side. It becomes very easy to challenge his base and break him down on that side. So when we're here, I don't know which side he's going to stand up with. I'm going to let Graydon, go back. I'm going to let Graydon make that decision. But when I'm here, I'm just going to think about which side is staying lower, which one is not rising, and off balance him to that side. So I'm here, he goes to stand up. He goes to stand up, and we never let him stand up. He goes to stand up. He goes to stand up. We're always challenging his base and his balance to whichever side the knee's still down on the floor. Very hard for him to stop. Now, okay, what if my opponent doesn't keep either knee down on the floor? What if he takes both knees off the floor at the same time in an action that we call a 4-point? Okay? So what he's going to do is he's going to put both of his hands on the floor and both his feet on the floor, and he's going to keep his head low, and he's going to go up to a 4-point. Now, why might he do this? A lot of jiu-jitsu people, when they see the back, they just try to jump out and get the back. They just try to jump and grab and latch. But if I do that against an opponent who stays stable and then 4 points, if I go here and he 4 points, I'm going to get thrown off the front. I'm going to slide right down. So we need to be careful with how we attack the 4-point. One more time, we can do this in more of a jiu-jitsu-y way, where we first look to jump on the back, insert limbs, and latch ourselves onto them. Or we can do this in more of a wrestling-based way, where I look to off-balance him and break him down back to an unathletic position. Once he's in an unathletic position, then I can start putting hooks in. So again, we can do this 2 different ways. Either looking to put hooks in first and break him down second, or we can break him down first and put hooks in second. If you're going to go with the first option, if you want to put hooks in first and break him down second, you better be darn sure you know what you're doing. If I go to put hooks in on somebody and I don't know what I'm doing, that's where you're going to get thrown off. You're going to slide off the body and you're going to end up on bottom, like I just demonstrated a little bit ago. So how do we put hooks in a way where I'm not simply going to slide off the body? Well, we use asymmetrical hooks. And a good way to get there is by using a thigh pry as a temporary hook on the far hip. Let's take a look. So I'm here in turtle, and Graydon starts to 4-point. When I see Graydon rising, I'm also going to start to rise. If Graydon's rising, I'm not going to stay down on my knees. That's just asking to be beaten. From here, all Graydon needs to do is hop his hips to the other side of my hips, to the other side of my body. Just go right over my body. Keep your head where it is. Nope, nope. Like, step over my body, and now run. Yeah! Yeah, let's look at that again. If I stay down on my knees as he rises, that's a bad thing for me. I'm here, he rises, he steps over, oh shoot. Because I stayed too low. If your partner starts to stand up, you also must stand up. You cannot give him that kind of a mobility advantage over you. If he rises and you stay down, he's far more mobile than you are, and that's going to bite you in the butt. So I'm here in an open turtle, he starts to 4-point. I also stand up just like so. Now from right here, to rotate this way 90 degrees, I'm going to put in something I call a thigh pry, where my left arm is going to go in and I'm going to grab the inside of his thigh. So now when I kind of hop up onto Graydon, be ready to bear my weight, strong body Graydon, my thigh pry will hold me on. If I take my thigh pry out, I'm going to fall. So my thigh pry grip functions as a temporary hook. Here, I put in a thigh pry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hop my hips up on top of Graydon. I'm not just going to sag, because then I'll fall. I want my body to be able to balance. So I'm going to do a little bit of a hop, so I get to this point, so I'm well balanced on top of Graydon. You're strong there, Graydon. Hold my entire body weight up there. Nice work. So once again, he's up in a 4-point. I put in my thigh pry, and I hop my center of gravity, which is roughly 2 inches below my belly button, right on my hip line, right where your belt buckle would sit. And I try to put that part of my body right on Graydon's back here, where I'm going to be balanced. As I do that, I lock a knee-deep hook here. So I have a thigh pry on one side and a knee-deep hook on this side. I bring my left leg up, and I put in a shallow hook. So I have asymmetrical hooks that will hold me in place. And now from here, I'm going to get my half claw grip, and we're going to power half and down. Just like so. My apologies, Graydon. I know it's not easy to hold up my body weight in that 4-point when I have my entire body weight on you, but just bear with me. So, again, thigh pry on the far side. You're going to, just a very slight hop. Don't hop too far. You don't want to throw yourself all the way over. But just a small enough of a hop, you can find a balancing point on his hips. From that balancing point, we're going to put in a knee-deep hook on the near side, where I use the pocket of my knee to contour and grip his thigh. And then we're going to use a shallow hook on the far side, where I contour here, the bend of my hook. to the inside of the thigh. So knee deep on the near leg and hook deep on the far leg. And those asymmetrical hooks will hold me on. Let's see what happens if I put on symmetrical hooks. Why aren't we doing symmetrical hooks? Why are we doing this crazy asymmetrical hook thing? 4 point. If I try to go with symmetrical hooks, I slide right down. If I try to put myself square behind him, so my body and his body are square and aligned and symmetrical, you'll slide right down like a children's playground slide. So we go in knee deep on one side, hook deep on, or hook shallow on the other, let's say, knee deep on one and hook shallow on the other. So I can hang off and sag off to one side. And it's my shallow hook, my sticky hook on the far leg that's really gonna hold my body weight and stop me from falling. So I'm here, he 4 points, I'm up here. Thigh pry, I'm gonna do a little bit of a hop, catching knee deep on this leg, and catching my body weight, my center of gravity, on his hips. Here. Now from here, my left leg comes up, and I make my shallow hook. Now from here, strong body, I can hang, and I'm not gonna fall. If my shallow hook comes out, I'm gonna fall. So you need a deep hook and a shallow hook. One more time. I'm here, and the 4 point. I put in a thigh pry, I do my little baby hop, getting knee deep, and it's almost not even a hop, it's almost just pushing. Here. Look how I don't even hop, I just kind of lean forward, and I find the balance. So it's not even a jump. Okay, I'm here, hook, a little bit of a ride up, knee deep, hook deep. And now from here, 2 ways to break him down. I can power half and I can fold his chin to his chest, or I can go elbow, keep it up again, or I can go elbow deep at his wrist, and I can take his wrist off the floor, and I can start to break him down that way. I do prefer the power half, but sometimes, sometimes you just need another option. Sometimes, he's got a strong neck. Sometimes you can't get the grip right for whatever reason, just it's not there. Sometimes it's good to just grab that wrist and take that wrist out. Sometimes I'll do it with my hand too. One more time with 4 point here. I'm here, we lock, come up. Sometimes I'll just go here with my wrists and I'll just pull his wrists out. And I'll start messing with the wrist too. Anything you can do to take away his base of support, essentially. Again, that can be hard to do because all of his weight's down on his hands, so his hands are very heavy. So it takes some power to pull those wrists out. But again, that's another good option if the power half isn't there. I recommend the power half first. And I'll show the power half one more time because I recommend that first. But if the power half doesn't work, getting either grips on the wrists or even stronger, elbow deep on the wrist, and popping that wrist out is another great way to break them down. Let's look one more time at the power half, then we'll move on from 4 point. So I'm here, I come up with him. Let's start back down. If I'm in here and he starts rising, I also start rising. I don't let him rise without me also rising. Thigh pry, a little bit of a hop, knee deep, hook shallow. We power half, break him down. We collect the head, and now we have back control. And now we're ready to start taking away his defensive arms. And now with the defensive arms taken away, we're ready to start setting up our chokes. And we're going to look at that in the future. So when we have somebody who's in an open turtle, they might try to stand straight up, and we attack the neck. If they step up with either leg, either an outside leg or an inside leg, we run them down toward the side of the down knee. Down to knee, we off balance in that direction. If they go up into a 4 point, we saw we have asymmetrical hooks, and that's a very jiu-jitsu-y way of taking the back. But we also have another great way. Remember I said that you guys can put your hooks in first and break your opponent down second? We just saw that with asymmetrical hooks followed by a power half breakdown. Or you can break your opponent down first and then put your hooks and wedges in second. We're going to do this using our arms as a set of closed wedges around our opponent's body, up high on the chest. And we're going to use something called a spiral breakdown, or a spiral ride from the sport of wrestling. So once again, when we're here, if Graydon starts to 4-point, I'm also going to stand up. Now we saw an option where I can jump on top of him looking for hooks. However, if this happens to you a lot, where you jump off and you end up sliding and falling off to the bottom, I got some good news for you. There's another very strong method. I'm going to lock a body lock around the hips here. I like to use finger to finger, but palm to palm and wrist to wrist also work well depending on the length of your arms. From this grip, I'm going to slide my grip down from his hips to his chest. So I start here on a body lock, and I come up here toward the armpits. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run in a circle this way. My left elbow is going to close, which is going to pull his hips. And my right elbow is going to open, which is going to push his head and his shoulders that direction. So we're literally getting up in that 4-point. I'm pushing his head this way toward the camera, and I'm pulling his hips toward the wall. And we're getting this spiral breakdown effect. So he stands up, I lock a body lock. I come up high on the chest. Now my right elbow flares open. Can you face the camera? Great. My right elbow flares open and it pushes into his shoulder and armpit. My left elbow closes and it pinches on the hip. So as we start to run in a circle, we break them down. Up in another. And rotate to face the camera. And what position do we end up in? The same old position. It's the same song and dance. Now it's up to you. We have a hip breakdown here. We can either try to take the back right from the hip breakdown, either going knee first, hooks and pull them back to a chair sit. We could go foot first, taking the back this way. Or we could convert it to either a seated breakdown, putting the hooks in, or we could convert it to a shoulder breakdown. And then we can start putting hooks in. I hope you guys are appreciating how this is all coming together to create one complete cohesive turtle attacking system for you. So again, our opponent 4 points. We can go with the jiu-jitsu method of jumping on the back with asymmetrical hooks. Or we can break him down to his hip first, like we did when we were attacking a closed turtle. And we break him down to his hip using a high body lock or a chest lock, and that spiral ride with our 2 elbows rotating in opposing directions as we run in a circle to generate power and momentum. One more time. I'm in an open turtle.